South Korea's Trade Minister Yeo returned home after wrapping up his trip to the United States, where he held talks with American officials aimed at easing tariff pressures. He pledged to continue negotiations, but still faced criticism for coming back empty-handed. Leaders of the United States and China held a phone call 2 months ahead of President Trump's expected visit to Beijing. Trump said they had a positive conversation on global conflicts, including the Ukraine war, the situations in Iran and Taiwan, and added that China reaffirmed plans to buy more U.S. farm soybeans. The Trump administration announced that it plans to create a critical minerals trading bloc and has called on its allies, including South Korea, to join as part of an apparent effort to counter China. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. We begin today with South Korea's Trade Minister Yeo, who has returned home after a visit to Washington aimed at easing mounting U.S. pressure over a proposed tariff hike. Speaking to reporters at Incheon Airport this morning, he acknowledged that he did not meet U.S. Trade Representative Chief Jamieson Greer, but said he had held multiple rounds of working-level talks with the USTR over the past several weeks. He stressed that Seoul is ready to faithfully and swiftly implement its tariff agreement with Washington, arguing that an immediate tariff increase would be inappropriate given South Korea's good faith efforts. He further added that he plans to continue talks with the USTR next week, saying bipartisan efforts in the National Assembly to fast-track a special law on U.S. investment would help address Washington's concerns and prevent misunderstandings. And South Korea's defense ministry has reportedly proposed to the United States for South Korea to manage part of the demilitarized zone, according to a source this morning. Under the proposal, Seoul would oversee entry to areas located south of a barbed wire fence within the southern portion of the DMZ, while the UN command would administer the area between this fence and the military demarcation line that divides the two Koreas. The fence should have technically been installed along the southern limit line, 2 kilometers south of the military demarcation line, yet parts of the fence were installed to the north of the SLL to facilitate surveillance duties against North Korea. Neither the U.S. Defense Ministry nor the UN Command have yet to respond to Seoul's proposal. The UN Command has recently objected to Seoul's other proposals for South Korean control of civilian access to the military buffer zone. And U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have held what Trump called a long and positive conversation on trade, Taiwan issues, and global conflicts ahead of a planned Beijing summit. The talks come as China also steps up coordination with Russia, highlighting shifting dynamics among major powers. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
U.S. President Donald Trump says he held a long and thorough and positive phone call with Chinese President Xi Jinping on Wednesday, covering issues from trade to global security in talks that could set the stage for his planned visit to Beijing in April. In a post on Truth Social on the same day, President Trump said the two leaders discussed the war in Ukraine, the situation in Iran, and Taiwan. He noted Taiwan had not come up during their first in-person meeting in South Korea late last year, suggesting it could become a key topic in upcoming talks. China's foreign ministry confirmed that Taiwan was discussed and underscored the sensitivity of the topic. Beijing described Taiwan as the most important issue in China-U.S. relations, tied to China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. It also urged Washington to handle arms sales to Taiwan with caution. At the same time, China signaled it remains open to dialogue. In its statement, Beijing expressed hope that 2026 could be a year of mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation, while warning that China has its own concerns and will match words with actions. On trade, President Trump said China reaffirmed plans to buy more U.S. energy and agricultural products. He pointed to possible increases in soybean purchases to as much as 20 million tons in the current season, along with discussions on airplane deliveries. Calling his relationship with Xi extremely good, Trump said both sides recognize the importance of stable ties and predicted positive results over the next 3 years. The call marks their first since late November and comes as the two powers balance strategic rivalry with deep economic links. It also raises the possibility that Trump's April trip to China could create diplomatic openings on North Korea, though it is unclear whether Pyongyang is ready to engage. Meanwhile, Xi and Russian President Vladimir Putin recently held a separate video call focused on strengthening cooperation, maintaining strategic stability, and coordinating their approach to the United States. The two leaders have continued to highlight their partnership amid tensions with the West, signaling that Beijing and Moscow intend to keep close communication on security and geopolitical issues. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
And Washington is also stepping up its push to secure the raw materials that power everything from weapon systems to electric vehicles, as it calls on its allies, including South Korea, to join a new trade bloc for critical minerals. The move is seen as an apparent effort to defend against China's stranglehold on the key minerals. Our Moon Hee-ryun has the details.
The United States has formally moved to rally allies into a new trade bloc aimed at reshaping global supply chains for critical minerals, resources essential to defense systems and advanced industries, and has invited South Korea to take part. The initiative was unveiled on Wednesday at a ministerial-level meeting in Washington, where U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance announced plans to establish what he called a critical minerals trading bloc, designed to diversify supply chains and reduce over-reliance on any single country. Vance said that while much attention is paid to the digital and high-tech economy, growth ultimately depends on tangible resources.
There's no realer thing than critical minerals. And I think a lot of us have learned the hard way, in some ways, over the last year, how much our economies depend on these critical minerals.
At the core of the proposal is a preferential trade zone for global supply chains for critical minerals. Under the plan, benchmark prices would be set at each stage of production to reflect what U.S. officials describe as fair market value, with adjustable tariffs acting as a backstop against external shocks. The meeting was attended by South Korea's Foreign Minister Cho Hyun alongside officials from Australia, India, and Japan. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said the United States is seeking to collaborate with 55 partner countries on what has been dubbed the New Forge Initiative, noting that many have already signed on. He warns that global supply chains for critical minerals are heavily concentrated in the hands of one country, leaving them vulnerable to geopolitical leverage and disruptions ranging from political instability to pandemics. While Japan, Australia, Saudi Arabia, and Thailand have reportedly signed cooperation frameworks with Washington, South Korea has yet to do so and is still reviewing its participation. The push underscores how critical minerals are increasingly viewed not just as commodities but as strategic assets, central to economic growth, industrial competitiveness, and national security. Moon Hee-ryun, Arirang News.
Staying in the United States, U.S. President Donald Trump reportedly told Georgia's governor that he was initially unaware of the immigration raid that led to the arrest of hundreds of Korean workers last September. According to the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday, citing administration officials, the operation was part of a tougher immigration crackdown led by White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. It added that Trump privately said he did not know about the arrest and later told aides he did not want large-scale raids at factories and farms. On September 4th, immigration authorities detained more than 300 Korean workers at a Hyundai Motor Group and LG Energy Solution joint battery plant construction site in Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp then called President Trump to request their release. BTS comeback show at Gwanghwamun Square next month is drawing massive global attention. With expectations soaring, fans around the world are eager to see how the performance will play out. Our culture correspondent Park Gun-woo gives us a preview.
After years on the world's biggest stage, 7 voices are returning to where their story began. The kings of K-pop, BTS, are coming back with Arirang, a live comeback show at one of Korea's most symbolic sites, Gwanghwamun Square in central Seoul. According to Seoul city officials and industry insiders, the show's host has applied to use not only the square, but also the inner grounds of Gyeongbokgung Palace. That has fueled speculation that BTS may make a ceremonial walk along the so-called King's Road, starting at Keunjeongmun Gate, passing through Hungyemun, the palace's second gate, and emerging through the three doors of Gwanghwamun before stepping onto the plaza where the main stage is expected to be built. Officials say discussions are still underway on whether the opening will take place live or as a pre-recorded sequence. Following the opening, all 7 members are set to perform together in front of armies from around the world, joined by dancers and the Arirang Gugak Group, a traditional Korean music ensemble. With their new album titled Arirang, Korea's most iconic folk song, the decision to begin full group promotions at this site carries special meaning. The location is both a historic landmark and a modern symbol of Korea, known for major protests and World Cup fan parks. Organizers are planning to accommodate around 15,000 people on site, with additional crowds expected nearby, including at Seoul Plaza, where people even without tickets can watch through large screens installed. Including nearby areas, officials estimate that up to 200,000 people could gather. With those numbers in mind, the Seoul Metropolitan Government held a safety meeting on Wednesday, preparing crowd control, emergency access routes, traffic plans, and multilingual safety messages. The show will also be live-streamed worldwide on Netflix. March 21st at 8 p.m., just one day after the album's release, BTS will make their return on a site that was once reserved for kings, but is now shared with the world. 박건우, Arirang News.
In Korea, new forms of community are emerging where people meet not to network or socialize, but to do just one thing together. From childhood games to shared snacks, these gatherings reflect how connection is being redefined. Our Chung Il-im tells us more.
Here at Seoul Island in Seoul's Seochogu district, more than 30 people have gathered on a Friday night. To onlookers, it may seem like a large meet and greet, but these people have only one goal: to play cops and robbers, or gyeongdo. Without much in the way of small talk, the participants do a brief warm-up exercise and get started. The game, which is a childhood staple game for Koreans now in their 20s and 30s, consists of cops who chase the robbers, who are sent to jail when caught.
We feel like neighbors because we're all strangers, but we play games together, like kids. It's like Squid Game.
The participants also enjoy games like Red Light, Green Light, and Round and Round, all childhood games that were also featured in the Korean Netflix hit Squid Game. Unlike most social gatherings, they part without any interactions outside of simply playing the game.
The people here are not here to network or grab drinks. At this moment, they're simply cops and robbers, running towards a single goal, enjoying themselves.
Another one-goal meeting trending in Korea is one where people gather just to eat French fries. Here at a McDonald's in Mapogu district, 7 people have gathered solely for their love of the crispy snack. They split the bill anonymously using the Carrot app before placing their order, and a large pile of French fries soon arrives. Conversation flows easily, from personality types to hobbies, and before they know it, the food is gone. Laughing throughout, they part ways casually.
The meeting was just to eat fries, without having to talk about heavy topics or personal life, so it was enjoyable.
Both gatherings were organized through Carrot, an online platform that connects nearby users through secondhand classifieds and meetings. Because participants remain anonymous, many say there is little pressure to maintain relationships, resulting in these one-purpose meetups becoming more common. Experts say this reflects a shift in how younger generations view social connections.
In the past, relationships often came with a sense of obligation, which could make people feel uncomfortable. Today, people can choose relationships more freely and let go without pressure, which I think can actually lead to richer social connections.
From playground games to shared snacks, Koreans are finding new ways to connect without the pressure of lasting ties. Chung Il-im, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. The Trump administration will withdraw about 700 federal immigration officers from Minnesota immediately while keeping a large enforcement operation in place. White House border czar Tom Homan said on Wednesday the drawdown follows state and local officials agreeing over the past week to cooperate by turning over arrested immigrants, but he gave no timeline for when the broader operation will end. Despite the reduction, 2,000 officers will remain in the state. Governor Tim Walz called the move encouraging but insufficient, demanding a total end to the ICE operation. The last remaining nuclear arms pact between the United States and Russia is set to expire on Thursday, ending a half-century of regulated atomic arsenals. The New START treaty agreed in 2010 had limited each side to 1,550 deployed warheads and 700 deployed missiles and bombers. It also included on-site inspections, but these stopped in 2020 and never resumed. Russian leader Vladimir Putin offered a one-year extension to the New START treaty if Washington does the same, but U.S. President Trump says that China needs to be included in any future nuclear arms pact due to its growing nuclear arsenal. Iconic U.S. daily newspaper The Washington Post has fired one-third of its entire staff. The massive layoffs on Wednesday cut the paper's sports section, several foreign bureaus, and all Middle East correspondents. The Post executive editor Matt Murray cited shifting user habits and financial instability as the primary reasons for the painful but necessary restructuring. Former editor Martin Barron blamed owner Jeff Bezos for the self-inflicted destruction of the 150-year-old newspaper's reputation and the resulting loss of subscribers. 주지현, Arirang News.
The cold has eased, but air quality continues to be a concern. Ultrafine dust levels are bad across much of the country, and from late this afternoon, additional overseas pollutants will move in, pushing the levels to very bad overnight. Temperatures will remain milder than average through today, but dust will be washed away once the colder air arrives. Tomorrow morning, our temperatures will be dipping down to -8 degrees Celsius, then staying below freezing all day. Then even stronger cold wave will be arrive this weekend. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 8 degrees under cloudy skies. Meanwhile, southern provinces will be sunnier with Daegu, Gyeongju, Busan all topping out at 14 degrees Celsius. After a severe cold snap, temperatures should rise again on Monday afternoon, while Jeollado and Jeju are forecast to see lots of winter mix.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.